All the way from Belgium is, of course, the Gallery Nosco, and I was very happy to chat to Cyril ahead of Cape Town Art Fair to find out exactly who he would be exhibiting. Cyril, thank you so much for joining us for an interview here on Audacity. I'm excited to have you in Cape Town, back again for the Cape Town Art Fair. Tell me, what is it like? Are you excited about the art fair starting very soon?
I am indeed very excited to come back to Cape Town, as a matter of fact, since I came first last year. And for me, it was kind of a big shock. I was not expecting anything from any location that I traveled to, or any fairs in general. But I do find that Cape Town or South Africa in general have definitely something very special about the art scene, and mainly the artists there. It's, to my mind, it's also very vibrant, and a little bit what I was acquainted with in Latin America when I first went in 2011 and discovering the art scene and the contemporary art there too.
Fantastic. And there is quite a, as you said, there is quite a similarity in terms of the spirit of the people, the I don't know, there's a vibrancy that feels like Cape Town and some of the South American cities could easily be cousins, not distant cousins, quite closely related cousins.
Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on to mention it like that. Of course, there is I can talk just of Cape Town and Rio de Janeiro, for example, where it's like also very close to the sea, as well as very close to the mountain. So you have this kind of sceneries which are fully charged between air and sea kind of thing. But above all, the people, I think, make the place. And if I again compare it to Latin America, for me that was essentially what drew me into the contemporary arts in there, and equally, I think Cape Town, from what it's discovered, which is a very little bit anyhow, yeah, it's very similar to those countries, and including Peru and Mexico and obviously Brazil.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So tell me a bit then, you've experienced Cape Town before, you're coming back. The curatorial theme last year's art fair was play, this year it's listen. How did you go about deciding on who you're bringing to Cape Town?
Well, for me, funnily enough, and again into the conversation that you're pointing out, and to the similarities on countries, and one that I'm used to, I find that it's very important to build bridges somehow, where I'm very entwined into culture. And for me, building bridges from one country or several countries into another, it's deeply important, as well as obviously seeing similarities, difference, and that engage into conversation, discourse, and exploring more about the local scene.
And the curatorial theme being listen, I think for me it was something which resonated, which is also probably why I have a podcast. I think there are so many good stories that we need to listen to help us understand our context in life and in the world a bit more clearly. The theme being listen, did that affect who you decided to bring as artists to exhibit in your booth?
Well, I would say yes and no, because obviously, as a normal human being, you have to be a good listener to basically get to know people and engage with one another. And I think if you're lacking that, at least to my mind, you're missing something which is very important to my mind or to my eyes. So. With that in mind, for me, it was very important also to add a little bit to it and have the concept of appropriation within the booth. So whether it was cultural appropriation, whether it was linked to art history, whether it was from a technical point of view, like a visual language appropriation to explore and literally mention something, conceptually speaking. So all of these theme, was something very important to me to decide my curatorial theme within the fair.
On that note, then, can you tell me about some of the artists who you'll be exhibiting at this year's Cape Town Art Fair?
Yes, so I bringing literally two artists that I have exhibited last year. So one being from Brazil, which is Caio Marcolini, working exclusively with weaving metal, such a beautiful way. So very technical, but also conceptually linked to femininity. And the other one that also brought was Isabelle D, which is a French Algerian woman that has a lot to say about colonialism, since she obviously she grew up in Algeria, and French was obviously colonizing Algeria at the time, and she's creating those most beautiful abstract landscape out of textile in order to address that or talk about that, as well as other things. I'm bringing also Matthew Gallagher for the first time, that I'm showing in South Africa, that is showing in South Africa, which is a LA-based artist, a young artist, which is kind of a mid-age, so to speak, but he's still a young artist. And for him is very much entwined with art history, walking around museum, and he has the ability to draw perfectly and very academically things that inspire him. So he's appropriating somehow old masters or part of the old masters painting that has really something to do with him, and throughout the technique with wax and on paper, as well as a graphite on paper, able to draw those beautiful, kind of a mesmerizing object, so to speak. And Ishmael Randall Weeks is another one that's also part of the team, which has the tendencies also to draw upon the earth, but as again linked to colonialism and appropriation, with his own Peruvian architecture, but also minerals and so on. And last of all, Salah Davis, which is obviously from Cape Town, which was the big discovery for me. She's a young artist from your city that has again the most beautiful language with pearl textile, deeply rooted with family history, obviously colonial legacy too. And fully charged with culture. So that's a roundup of what I will bring to the booth.
Of course, we're very excited about the Cape Townian artist, and it is one of those things as well. How can I say, what was it that first attracted you to her work in particular?
Well, I discovered her work last year, and I went when I travel for work. Sadly, it's very difficult to see of the country because you're there such a short time. But I always allow myself to do some studio visits and to talk prior that to artists that discovered. And so I went to her studio, and she, just was mesmerizing and very much on point with the concept that she has to say, and also adopted a visual language that a lot of people can assimilate. But obviously, that's just a visual language. Beside that, there is a lot of different depth and layer through the work. So not too dissimilar to the artists that I'm bringing, including Isabelle D working with textile, and Caio Marcolini also has a strong sense of visual language too.
It's also interesting for me. I've been very fortunate to be able to visit various art fairs around the world. I'm excited also about Art Basel happening for the first time in Doha. It's always interesting to see how the different markets receive the various galleries and what does particularly well at the specific art fairs. In that context, how would you say that Cape Town Art Fair differs to, say, an Art Basel or one of the other international art fairs?
Well, of course, you have mentioned kind of the very big entities such as Art Basel, which are obviously dominating the art fair circuit, so to speak. And although I had made, I was fortunate to do Art Basel Miami a few years back. But in those fairs, you feel like a very small fish in a very large sea. Whether investor called Cape Town, yeah, it feels obviously very much like a boutique fair, and totally different from any larger fair, so to speak. That means also like you get to know maybe a little bit more the people, and it's more of a connection. Not to say that in Art Basel or any other fairs you don't have connection, far from it. But I guess it's a little bit more personal, and I think current timing and whatsoever's happening in the world right now, I think, at least from my side, anyhow, it is definitely what I need to get a little bit more personal within the work field, and it matters.
So I want to take it back right to the start. And again, just for context, as I said, it's lovely to have you back at Cape Town Art Fair for the second time. But for someone who hasn't yet encountered you and Gallery Nosco, can you give us just a little bit of a background about why you're so passionate about art and how you came to be in the space that you currently are?
Well, why I'm passionate about art, I guess. For me, the dialogue with again the cultural dialogue with artists and exchange, it's something which nourish me, and it's what on a daily basis I would say it's very important, because it's helping understanding a lot of different things throughout artists' practice or practices. In that case, for example, in Cape Town, meeting obviously Sarah Davis is also helped me understanding a little bit more about South Africa, as well as far more greater in terms of Cape Town history and so on. So in that sense, I think it's just something, the relation and the dialogues is nourishing the soul, and to me that's greatly important.
And how did you end up having your own gallery, which I know you're based in Brussels, but you have influence in so many different markets. How did you decide to start your own gallery?
I actually was living in London for about 23 years, and that's all. That's when it all started. Initially, the gallery started as a secondary market practice, believe it or not.
A lot of, I've noticed also of late, many galleries are playing in the secondary market as well. And there seems to be a lot of hybridization of the art market at present.
Maybe at present, but which for me, I left the secondary market, so at least I do not intend to go back to it right at this point. It's never been on my mind for many years, but that's all essentially when it started. And from there I was a little bit bored somehow dealing with works without. I could have sold cars and it would have been exactly the same thing. So I needed something a little bit more. And then I decided to start doing shows. And at the time I didn't have a space, but I did pop up shows around the world, including Hong Kong, New York, and obviously London, France, and so on. But also at the time it wasn't really acceptable as being a gallery to do pop-up shows. Now it's
Now it's
Times have
become,
changed.
yes, yes, yes.
But at the time, yeah, I think it was a little bit too early, and people said, "Oh well, you don't have a space. You're definitely not a gallery." And little do they know that when you have to do shows in different cities around the world, it's much more trouble and much more things to do than just having your own space, because yeah, the logistic that goes with it is something else. But nevertheless, it started like that, and then obviously I had a space in London, starting to work with artists from Latin America. For the reason that we have mentioned from the beginning, essentially the cultural dialogues and what I was discovering there. And then I came back to France about 6, 7 years ago. Then the COVID happened. I had a space in south of France, so I relocated my program. And then COVID hit and happened, so everything shut down in Europe or in the world, except two countries in Europe, Sweden and Belgium, where culture was able to be open with obviously sanitary rules and so on. So so literally an opportunity there. So I did set up two curatorial projects, lasted about 2 years in Brussels, and then yeah, I opened a space 3 years ago, and yeah, to run my program from there. But living in south of France, I'm definitely thinking now that a rural location in south of France could also be a very good idea for the future, given the world circumstances.
The south of France is always a great idea. It's one of my favorite places in the world. But I'm very glad that you're coming to Cape Town, which I think is a lot of people's favorite place as well. So we look forward to having you in Cape Town for the art fair. And thank you again for taking time and for taking time also to learn about our artists and their context in the global art scene. I'm very excited to see what you're going to be exhibiting, and we look forward to hosting you here. Thank you for joining me on Audacity.
Thank you for having me.